I'm Charlie Duckett and I'll be your host for today's session. So thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. This is our second series of the Innovate Tourism Workshop, and we're delighted to be joined by Emer Callaghan from Tourism NI, Paul O'Callaghan from Innovate UK, and Tracy Jeffrey from Tracy's Farmhouse Kitchen. So over the next 45 minutes or so, Emer and Paul will explore how innovation can help tourism businesses adapt, stay relevant, and unlock new opportunities in an ever-changing and competitive environment. And then we'll hear from Tracy, who's going to share her story on how she transformed her 18th century farmhouse into an immersive food experience that blends tradition, storytelling, and creativity. So after the main presentation, then we'll pick back up and get through as many questions as possible during the live Q&A with Emer, Paul, and Tracy. So if you have any questions at any point, just pop them into the question box on your screen, and we'll do our best to get through as many as we can. So let's get started. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce Emer Callaghan to lead us into today's session. So good afternoon, Emer, over to you.
Thank you so much, Charlie, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at our Innovate Tourism Lunch and Learn. So hopefully you all have a wee sandwich or a cup of tea or coffee at the ready, and I'm delighted to be joined also by Paul O'Callaghan from Innovate NI and one of our most innovative tourism professionals, the wonderful Tracy from Tracy's Farmhouse Kitchen, join us live from the beautiful banks of Strangford Lough. So as Charlie said, over the next half hour, we'll be exploring innovation in the tourism world and really how important innovation is to your business. Okay, so we're going to take a quick look, first of all, at the strategic context of tourism before we get going. And we all know that tourism is a really innovative sector, a sector that in 2024 was worth 1.1 billion to our economy, generating nearly 5 million trips, and 67% of those trips came from outside of Northern Ireland, which is fantastic. Tourism now supports over 70,000 jobs, and 70% of these are outside the Belfast City Council area. And we now have the highest amount of tourism businesses ever on record. And again, 80% of these are outside of Belfast, demonstrating, I suppose, tourism's ability to really generate regional growth and productivity. And I suppose, just as you can see from the slide, innovation has been a constant theme in our tourism journey over the past 15 years, where the innovative efforts of so many businesses have witnessed a fantastic accommodation sector, visitor attractions that have won world accolades, major events all coming here to help contribute to our tourism success story. And tourism plays a really important part in delivering for Minister Archibald's economic strategy. And that calls out a focus on regional balance, productivity, good jobs and decarbonisation. And really, innovation is required to drive forward all those particular areas outlined. So earlier this year, we saw the launch of a 10-year tourism vision and action plan, which really sets out an ambitious roadmap for growth in the tourism sector to generating over £2 billion for the economy by 2035. So that's quite the stretch target for us all to work to. And some of the actions within that tourism vision and action plan include expanding our visitor experience portfolio and specifically looking at new initiatives, new products, new experiences to help visitors stay longer and spend more when they're here with us. We need to ensure as well that there's an adequate mix of accommodation across the north, which really up to scratch for visitors. One of the actions is to look at a long-term programme of events for the north. We all know of the success of the Open and indeed our homegrown events, which are really important. And one of the actions as well is to look at a bespoke skills action plan to look at the skills gap that we need in the sector and improve career pathways. So we've now translated that into a 3-year corporate operating plan, which really, as I said before, focuses very much on getting visitors to stay longer, slow down, spend more with us and visiting more regions of the north. And we can only achieve, I suppose, all these actions and this growth through innovation. It's absolutely crucial. So the focus on innovation is throughout our economy, with targets for increasing the number of businesses here innovating on a regular basis and then holding innovation recognition. So in tourism, we're definitely playing our part to try and achieve those national targets, which will ultimately result in, I suppose, a more prosperous economy for here. But however, we do recognise the really challenging operating environment that's out there at the minute that you will all be very familiar with. The spiralling costs of energy and food. We've the VAT disparity between north and south of the border, and then obviously the increased national insurance contributions that came in, and the national wage increases that are expected next year, all set against, I suppose, consumer confidence and people having less money to spend on things like short breaks and heading on days out. So these challenges, I suppose, really make the case for innovation even stronger. So innovation, very important. That's why we're all here today. And it's crucial really for remaining competitive, for helping your business become more sustainable, having business longevity, and being able to, suppose, be able to adapt and change to various trends in the market, be it technology, processes, or indeed changing visitor needs as well. So what does innovation in tourism really look like? Well, I suppose innovation can happen right throughout your business. It doesn't just happen in a lab with men with white coats. It can happen in all parts of the economy and all parts of business. So in particular in tourism, innovation really can happen at the product and the experience side of the house, where you're looking at developing new experiences, adding new enhancements or new features, developing your food and beverage offering, developing your retail offering, all to reach new visitors, new market segments, and ultimately drive revenue. And there's so many fantastic examples of this throughout the tourism industry, and we hear from businesses every day of all their new innovations, their new experiences, their new collaborations with other tourism partners. So this is very much part and parcel of our tourism offering. But innovation can also be back of house. So looking at your business processes, your procedures to really drive efficiencies. And that's maybe in areas that are real pain points, you know, perhaps invoicing or ticketing or scheduling your social media posts that are so important for business. And just the example here on the slide is from the Giant's Causeway Visitor Centre, where they implemented a process innovation looking at a digital ticketing system, and that really helped reduce wait times and really enhance the visitor experience at this very iconic attraction. So over the past 2 years, we've been working with our friends and colleagues over in Innovate NI to really connect tourism businesses into innovation, into the world of innovation, and ensure that you, our tourism businesses, really are plugged into the many supports available from both Tourism NI and from Innovate NI to really support your business endeavours. And pleased to say the programme has really been going from strength to strength. And we've had quite a few regional roadshows, and we now have 64 tourism businesses that hold innovation recognition. And this is a national recognition demonstrating that tourism businesses are focusing on innovation, focusing on productivity alongside other parts of the economy. And we're really keen to grow that number, and hopefully after today many of you will take the opportunity for your business to join this group and be recognised as innovative tourism businesses. So do keep an eye out for more regional roadshows coming in the new year. We're planning them at the minute. So hopefully that's I've really explained to you the benefits of innovation, and I'm going now to hand over to the expert in innovation, our colleague Paul O'Callaghan from Innovate NI. So over to you, Paul.
Thanks very much, Emer, and thanks for that compliment. I think it's the first one you've given me in the last 2 years. So for those of you who maybe don't know Innovate NI as much as others, I maybe perhaps you start by giving you a quick introduction. So Innovate NI is an initiative that was formed back in 2019, seems like a long time ago now, and was really aimed at really helping businesses to engage in innovation and get more businesses learning the skills and the tools of how to actually innovate. And how we do that really is through providing businesses with one-to-one advice and support throughout their entire innovation journey. And it's about helping you find the right support at the right time. But for me, what I have found, it's actually more important to really give businesses the the knowledge and the skills and the capability to help them learn the innovation process. And it is a process which I'll go into shortly, so they can take those skills and use them as they drive on through their growth strategies for years to come. And we also work across with an awful lot of other partners in the innovation ecosystem, so we can kind of devise a unified approach to supporting the businesses we engage with. And I'm delighted to say that we've now got almost 3,000 businesses through the Innovate NI program, and of course the number of tourism businesses is starting to grow and add to that number as well, which is absolutely fabulous. So what is innovation? I know Emer mentioned the importance of innovation in terms of longevity and remaining competitive, etc. But for me, innovation is actually your survival tool. Those businesses who aren't innovating simply won't survive. It's a crucial business process, the same as HR, finance, or anything else, and should not be done on a whim. It should be something that you embed into your business. But what is innovation? If anybody's looking for a clear definition of innovation, then I suggest you go to the Innovate NI website, and there's a more detailed innovation definition there for you to read. But in summary, I suppose innovation is really about just taking a novel idea and creating value, and the innovation itself is the value that you create. Now, that value can be subjective. It could be social value, it could be commercial value, it could be just employee satisfaction, it could be a number of things, but really it's about taking those ideas and creating that value. And there's two words I would suggest that you keep in your head in relation to what thinking of innovation actually is, and that's novelty and value. And they're really important words that I'll explain later on in the presentation as why they're so relevant. And as Emer alluded to, their innovation can touch many parts of your business, from products and processes, business models, and in the tourism context, obviously, experiences. So I have to say, when I first, I was going to say got engaged to Emer, but with two names O'Callaghan, that might sound a bit confusing. But when I first met Emer, we discussed coming together as a Innovate NI and Tourism NI to form this Innovate Tourism Initiative. I was a bit skeptical because I never really associated innovation with tourism, and how wrong I was. I've been absolutely blown away in terms of just how innovative the whole sector is. I mean, if you go to Belfast International Airport, you see the robotic waiters up there. You go to Titanic now and you see the really high-tech immersive experiences there. And then Derry is leading the way in terms of transforming their heritage through innovation with immersive VR. And then at the other end of the scale, you have many of our hotels and accommodation facilities introducing innovation, in particular the Ballygally Hotel, which is an experience that I think I would take up, where you drink whiskey and watch Premier Netflix and then go out for a sea dip the next morning. But it doesn't really matter what it is. It's bringing in something new, something novel into your business that's going to create value and help you build your business and remain competitive going forward. But there's three, I suppose, when I was thinking about this presentation, I thought, what are three examples that I can share with you? And the three that came to mind was Tessa and from Sound Healing Spa, Keenan College in Fermanagh, and Tracy's Farmhouse Kitchen. I know Tracy's going to talk after this. Now, I'm not going to give away the crown jewels or any trade secrets when I talk about these three, but I think they really personify the relationship between Tourism NI and Innovate NI. Tessa and Tracy and Lisa, who with Keenan's Cottage, they all got engaged with Innovate Tourism at the very start and went to the workshops, and they really personify businesses who took on board what they learned and they moved forward and really put into practice what they took from those workshops. Tessa has gone from delivering sound healing spa experiences in Northern Ireland to developing a really exciting product to address neurodiversity in children, and it really does have global potential. Keenan's Cottage, Lisa, if you asked me, did a cottage have innovation, or what was the future for innovation with the cottage, I would have scratched my head. But Lisa has plans, which I'm not going to divulge for obvious reasons, to take that Keenan Cottage brand global with a lot of other merchandise and a lot of things. And Tracy, who Tracy will talk about her journey in a moment, and Tracy really personifies that whole innovation journey, going from the bread making to her new product. and I've been working with her along that journey, and I was delighted to see that product in the Clandy Boy there on Tuesday. So, you know, it's been an experience and a journey for me to look at, you know, businesses like this, to all move to the point where they have the potential to go global, be real export products, and even eventually even become investment clients. So well done to all those, and I'm just delighted to be a part of it. Now the reality check. Unfortunately, probably 90% of businesses and experiences and products and services don't actually make it to market. And there's a whole host of reasons for that. I mean, that's like 9 out of 10 companies fail, or ideas fail that get commercialized. That could be reasons about poor value proposition, poor pricing, lack of resources, lack of funding. There's a whole mirage of issues there. But the one that is tops the list, and I see this all the time, it's market misalignment, where you have an idea, and you go to bring it to market, only to realize that it doesn't get commercialized successfully because you haven't really gone to the market, to those who you want to bring that and sell that product or experience to. You haven't really done your homework with them. It's important to get out there. It doesn't matter why you think it's a great idea, or if your parents think it's a great idea, or your sister, your wife, your husband, or your friends. Get out to the market that you want to sell and promote this experience and product to, and make sure that they see the value in it, and enough value that they will actually pay for it. Some examples of who didn't do that and where it failed. I have a number of examples from Northern Ireland, but I don't think it'd be right to discuss those, obviously, in the local context. But I'll briefly run through a couple of examples. At Hanan Hotel in Japan, they introduced robotic concierge, which went down really well, until they put the concierge into the bedroom as the phase 2, only to be inundated with complaints from snoring guests who were woken up in the middle of the night with the robots asking them how they could help. That's a true story, which cost that hotel $500,000. Betsy was a downloadable travel itinerary where you could plan your hotels, your flights, and so on and so forth. The fundamental mistake that they made, while they got loads and loads of downloads, very successful, when it came to the final financial transaction, users left and went to more trusted platforms. So it didn't build that trust up with the market they wanted to address. And Starbucks, as we know, is a global coffee brand. They really struggled to get into Australia, simply because the Australian mindset was to support local indigenous coffee shops, and didn't really like global brands coming in to address that market. And Australia never really took off. Starbucks never really took off in Australia. I always love to put the Colgate image in there, because anybody that thought of bringing out a frozen meal with Colgate brand on it should be sacked. But it just shows you that it's not just small sole traders, small micro businesses who can make those rookie mistakes, but also large corporates can also as well. They don't validate the markets that they're going to go into. And it's based on the intelligence that we gather. We've dealt with almost 3,000 businesses, and we really do listen to the issues and the challenges that businesses have. And that's why we came up with the innovation framework. The innovation framework is actually built on international innovation standards, be it we have simplified it down into 4 key stages. And what we say to businesses, basically follow those key stages robustly, and it really will help maximize your chances of success. In behind each of those stages are a number of key innovation activities that you must carry out. And do not go from stage 1 to stage 3. This is probably the biggest issue we see with the businesses we deal with. They have an idea and they go straight to develop a prototype or MVP, and then try and take it to market, and it fails. Spend as much time at stage 2 as you can. And of course, Innovate and I is here to help and work with you and support you through each and every stage of that journey. 60% of the businesses that we deal with year on year are at that pre-commercialization stage, are kind of stuck around stage 3. And why is that? It's not something that's unique to small businesses. It's actually, we see it with large businesses as well. And fundamentally, it's because the businesses get their idea, they move forward, they maybe build a prototype or MVP, they go to commercialize, and only to find out that they haven't looked at all the other things that you need to address: marketing, resources, funding, legal, supply chains, all those things that need to be addressed before you can successfully commercialize. And that's not unique, as I say, to small businesses. Quite often, large businesses, the CTO will come to their R&D team and tell them to build a new product, only to find when they have the product built that the finance director says, well, actually, we don't have the money to commercialize that, or the HR person says, well, actually, we don't have the resources to deliver that or sell that. And that comes right down to the small business with one or two people, where all those activities reside maybe with the founder, but doesn't negate the reality that they all have to be addressed before you reach that commercial wall. And I would suggest that speak to Innovate.ai at the earliest point to look at all those various activities before you try to commercialize. And it really will help your chances of breaking through the commercialization wall and getting successfully into the market. So what happens when you complete the assessment, or how do you complete the assessment? Well, effectively, you go onto the Innovate.ai website, click assessment, and you'll be presented with 6 questions. Complete the 6 questions, and your assessment will come through to the Innovate.ai team. Effectively, what you're doing is you're giving us the details of your product. We're not really interested in the details of your business. We're focusing on the actual product itself. Once we receive your information, what we will do is we will contact you and we will discuss your project with you. And if it is an innovative project that you can take forward, then you can benefit from one-to-one advice, and we'll work with you all the way along in your journey. And you may engage with us at one point, and we'll work with you. You'll go off, maybe do a number of activities, and then come back to us maybe 6 months later and say, well, actually, I've done all this. This is great. Can I now get more help to move forward? And it's not always financial help you need, and quite often, when we get these assessments in number question 6, we ask, what help would you need? And they put on it, well, actually, I need money. No surprise there. But quite often when you speak to them, you say, well, actually, you don't need money. What you need to do is go out and do X, Y, and Z at first. But if they do need financial support or other support that Innovate.ai can't help with, then we will go and we will try and find that for you. And indeed, there is a lot of support available to businesses in Northern Ireland. The difficulty, I think, what we find is that especially smaller businesses outside Belfast and the Greater Belfast area is that they just don't know where to go to get that support. It could be financial, it may not be financial, but they find that the whole financial or the whole support landscape quite daunting. But the support is there. It's just knowing how to get it. And again, if you fill in the assessment or contact Innovate.ai, we'll work with you. We'll identify what support you need, and we'll provide it directly, or we'll work signpost you to some of our partners who will hopefully be able to help you. To this year to date, we have actually referred 123 businesses to other forms of support successfully. Now, I did mention support, and I particularly want to mention this particular financial support, and the reason is I think it's due to launch on the 10th of November, so it's quite relevant. The background to the Business Innovation Grant is obviously I mentioned that 60% of our businesses were stuck. Not stuck, but many of them are actually stuck, but sitting around stage 3 of the framework, and we really listened to businesses over the last 2 years and what they really needed, and many of them, when we say to them, look, go out and validate your idea in the market, and the response was, well, actually that takes money, and I don't have the money to do that. Or they may have gone to a university and got a grant and got a prototype taken. That's absolutely fabulous. They've gone out and they've maybe tested that prototype in the market. That's great. And then they've said, now I need to go and develop a full MVP with industry, but there was no support there for them to do that either. Or they have the product ready to go, but they have no financial support to take it to market. And so we listen to all these various things, and these are all activities in behind those stages of the innovation framework, and they formulated the support for the Business Innovation Grant. So, if you have an idea that you think is suitable for the grant, then I would encourage you to apply for it. I mentioned at the very start of the presentation about novelty and development, and novelty and value. So the reason I mentioned that is because we deem we look at these projects in the context of innovation. Are these projects actually innovative? And that's critical to being able to get into the application process, which is managed by the regional business team in InvestNI. So look at your project and ask yourself 3 questions. Am I developing something? That could be an experience, obviously. Is it novel? And will it create value? And if you think you tick those 3 boxes, then you likely have a project that you can at least apply to get support for. There's no guarantee you will. There's a level or conditions associated with it, but that is critical to getting through the first part of the thing. And feel free to reach out to us and talk to us about your project if you want some advice and guidance in that context. And finally, before I hand over to Tracy, Emer mentioned the recognition certificates. Every company who completes an assessment and comes into the InnovateNI program and has an innovative project will receive a recognition certificate from the Department of Economy corresponding to where they are on that innovation framework. Now, there is some people love these certificates, some people put them in the top drawer, but there is a lot of benefit to them, and I would suggest that you use them to your benefit. I have a company I'm meeting next Tuesday who has told me that they want to get the certificate because a venture capitalist in Belfast has specifically asked them to ensure that they have a recognition certificate from InnovateNI and the Department of the Economy as part of securing that VC investment. And why is that? It's because investors and customers and that like to know that they're dealing with an innovative company for the very reason that Emer mentioned, because it gives confidence that you've got an innovation in your business, and that's gives them reassurance that you're going to have longevity and growth going forward. I know of a company in Derry, for example, who mentioned that they wanted the certificate because it would help them win a contract in the Middle East. And of course, they're quite nice to hang on your wall as well as a pretty little reminder of your experience with InnovateNI. So those are my contact details. I'm sure Emer can share them with anybody who wants them, and feel free if you have a project or you want to talk about some of the things I've discussed here in this very short presentation, then do reach out to me or go to InnovateNI and complete the assessment. So now I'm going to hand over to Tracy from Tracy's Farmhouse Kitchen, the star of the show, who's going to bring a lot of what Emer and I have just said into the real world. Okay, over to you, Tracy.
Thanks, Paul. No pressure there. Thanks very much for having me along. I'm just really wanting to kind of give you a bit of background to my story and to how I got to where I am on the innovation journey. So I started my business about 10 years ago, and before that I was actually teaching French in a boys' secondary school in Bangor, which you can imagine was not exactly stress-free. I had always loved cooking. I'm the eldest of 5 kids, and really for me the innovation journey kind of started when I decided to cook and bake from my own home. So my signature experience is the traditional bread making. What I would say is that in itself probably is innovative. We live in a beautiful part of the world. Where I live, the home that I'm in, which is an 18th century converted thatched cottage, lends itself to groups coming in here, and we are only 30 minutes from Belfast here. I didn't set out ever to innovate, but I can honestly say it has been a constant theme throughout the last 10 years of Tracy's Farmhouse Kitchen. And to be honest, I think it really comes naturally to anyone who has an experience. You're actually innovating as you go along. Your experience is innovative, probably from the very start. So I mentioned my core product, which is the traditional bread making, and really with a lot of help and support and ongoing support, I would say, right to this very day from Tourism Northern Ireland, we now are offering our traditional bread making experience to tour groups globally and to domestic visitors. And through Tourism Northern Ireland, I've had the opportunity to get in front of different tour groups, to offer the experience to fan groups coming in, and our experience is one of the original ambassador experiences for the Embrace the Giant Spirit brand. The other thing that we do a lot here, and I see great benefit for my business and for other businesses, is collaborating with other tourism experiences in this area. And there are a lot more now on offer in this area than there were this time 5 years ago. I would certainly say that we have continually innovated within our micro business. We're always looking at expanding our portfolio of offerings, and as Paul mentioned there, it's something you really need to do to survive. If you don't do that, you'll not survive long term. So we decided just literally a couple of years ago, given that we are located right on the very edge of Strangford Lough, so it's just really outside the front door. So if you go on there, Barry, to the yes, just that's perfect. So we decided then we would offer on the water experiences. And so we offered the likes of Canadian canoeing for guests who did not want to get wet, and we would have a lot of those types of guests, and paddleboarding. And not only do we offer them for the private groups, but we also offer them just for the public as well in an open course. Our USP we would feel with these particular on the water experiences is that we are always combining hopefully delicious homemade food and drink with everything that we do. So, you know, if it's the winter time or autumn and you're out on the water, you're going to come back into the house, enter the home, into the kitchen, the fire will be lit, it'll be warm and cozy, and you'll either have a homemade lunch or you'll have pizzas. Joe, my other half, my husband, is the person that takes the guests out on the water. He's the person with that background. So next slide there, Barry. This is Joe looking very relaxed, as he often does, with Sally, the dog. And we're still kind of learning about these experiences, as we've only really kind of launched those a couple of years ago. But they have definitely proven very successful for us and very much an obvious choice given that we're just right on the edge of the water. Our journey really so far has been a learning journey, and really it has always been about getting the right support from the right people and different organisations. So we have been getting support from Innovate NI and from Tourism NI, and really this is something that we've felt we need to be doing constantly. It's not enough to really just to stand still. The latest project that I just want to mention today for us has been for sure a very steep learning curve. At the same time, I never realized how exhilarating and exciting that it could possibly be. So to start, I met with Paul from Innovate NI, and I had a wonderful idea that I thought was going to be really innovative and it would just definitely work. And I wanted to run it past him at the early stages just to save myself an awful lot of a waste of time if I put in an application and it wasn't going to work. And Paul very quickly told me that it wasn't innovative at all and that it certainly was not novel. And those are one of the factors that would be really important in the innovation process. So whilst I was slightly deflated, he definitely steered me in the right direction. And this is really what they call the ideation stage. So I can honestly say if I hadn't had those discussions and the feedback and the support from Paul and Innovate NI, to be honest, my application wouldn't have made it past the first post. So my advice to anyone who has an idea, who's thinking of bringing it to the next stage, get Paul out there. He's going to be a very busy guy, but get him out there and talk to him. Super approachable. He'll be upfront and honest with you, and he'll give you very valuable advice. The other thing that we did was, and I feel this was really a game changer for us, and that was that we engaged at an early stage with a consultant, with Dermot Walsh, who was honestly the most fully committed person in terms of consultancy that I've ever had. Dermot has worked with us right at the application stage. To be honest, I probably wouldn't have had the time or the patience to go through that whole process myself, and maybe would not have been successful otherwise. So really, Dermot was there for the long haul from start to finish. And I think that's absolutely crucial. He has definitely kept us going in the right direction. As I mentioned earlier, we did use all of the supports that were available. We did ask for help lots. We did contact Paul till he was probably blue in the face and met with him lots of times. And to be honest, this is where I feel this grant was different from lots of others, in that there was just so much support out there. I can honestly say that was huge for us. Ultimately, our new product is a non-alcoholic distilled botanical spirit. So given that we are just right on the shores of Strangford Lough, and there is a plant which grows prolifically around the shores of the loch, it's called sea aster. We knew that it had many culinary uses, and in fact, actually, it has lots of health benefits as well. So we created a recipe. We now have this amazing we're calling it Strangford, a non-alcoholic gin, essentially. And it's very much taking in the loch and the landscape which surrounds us. The provenance of this gin is all about the loch and the landscape. We're certainly very excited about this. We took it to the Food and Drink Showcase there, as Paul mentioned, in Clandeboy earlier this week. We were going just to get feedback from people. We certainly were not going to try and sell the product because we're not at that stage yet. And the feedback we got actually was really very positive, which was fantastic. There were different buyers there and so on. So yes, it has taken us into a whole new world. You know, from creating a product like this, where, to be totally honest, I thought to create a non-alcoholic product, it's not about burning off the alcohol, and actually that is what it's about. You have to burn off the alcohol to make sure you have the taste of gin. So we're at the next stage with the product. We're still in touch with Paul, Innovate NI, and Tourism Northern Ireland. I met with Emer and Gary Quaid there a couple of weeks ago. So we're very excited about this. I would urge anyone to give it a go. You're handheld right from the start. You can't go wrong. And yeah, it's just great to be part of all of this. So thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Tracy, for sharing your story. Fantastic insights there. And Paul, great to hear of the upcoming business improvement grant coming soon, which is very welcome indeed. And hopefully we will have lots of interest from the tourism industry. So just as a final little wrap up from me before I hand back to Charlie, hopefully we've made the case for really, demonstrating the importance of embedding innovation in your business. And as Tracy said, many tourism businesses are innovative by their very nature, and you're already doing it, which is fantastic. But we do have a range of toolkits online that help you specifically look at product and experience innovation. So ensuring any new ideas, are founded in best practice and informed by research as to what the visitors want. So there's toolkits on how to use the brands. There's also toolkits for developing experiences in culture and heritage tourism, food and drink tourism, outdoor tourism, and sustainable tourism. And I just wanted to also flag all the learning and the supports that are available through My Tourism NI, which is our innovative e-learning platform, and that really gives tourism businesses and your teams an opportunity to learn at a time that suits you. It's got fantastic content on there, and we now have over 400 learners, and that's growing each week, and we're getting really good feedback. And I would also highly recommend the modules on the e-learning to do with AI, and we hear a lot of talk about that and how you can best implement that in your business. So we have developed a series of learning modules all about how you can use AI in various different parts of your business. So please do dip in, go through one and see what can be learned. We also have an innovation hub on tourismni.com. It gives details on all the innovation framework that Paul talked through earlier, gives case studies, some from fantastic tourism businesses as well, so great for inspiration. And we have also, I suppose, more opportunities coming up. There's always an opportunity to join a webinar, or even to join us next week at the relaunch of all our sustainability support. So make sure you're signed up to our e-newsletter and you're checking in on tourismni.com or following us on LinkedIn. There's always plenty of activities happening, especially now between September and April, where we try and get tourism businesses when you're not busy with real life visitors. So thank you very much for your time and attention over this lunchtime, and I'm now going to hand you back to my colleague, Charlie. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Emer. Yeah, so just a quick reminder, we will be sharing this recording session as well, so you can revisit the content at your own pace. So we'll be moving into our Q&A session very shortly, so if you haven't submitted the question, there's still time. Just pop it into the question box on your screen and we'll do our best to cover as many as we can. So before we dive into the questions, we just love to get your feedback through a couple of short polls. It'll really help us improve future sessions. So the first one there that's on the screen: how beneficial overall did you find today's session on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being very beneficial? So we'll just give you a bit of time there to answer that. Perfect. And then the second poll question is: how would you rate today's session in terms of content and relevance to your business on a scale of 1 to 5? Perfect. And then finally, the last one: do you plan to take any action within your business as a direct result of what you've heard from our speakers so far today? Brilliant. So thanks so much for the feedback. It's really valuable, and we will also email a short evaluation form after the recording. So that's your chance to tell us how useful you found today's session and what topics you'd like covered in our Tourism Enterprise Development Programme going forward. Okay, so let's get into the questions. So we've had a couple of questions admitted in advance, so we'll start with them. And again, any others, just pop them into the question box. So if Emer, Paul, and Tracy could come back on, and we'll get started. So the first one, Emer, we'll direct it to you. So is drink tourism innovation something that interests the tourism board?
Yes, absolutely. I suppose regardless of what people come to Northern Ireland for, whether it's golf or screen tourism or a short break, they have to eat and drink. Some people like myself, at least 5 or 6 times a day when you're on holiday. So developments and innovation around food and drink tourism are very welcome. It's one of our key thematic areas that we develop our experiences from. We have a visitor experience development plan specifically for food and drink tourism with a number of actions in that. So there's great benefit to both developing food and drink tourism experiences, but then also how that can boost the retail. And actually, Tracy is a perfect example of that. That's it's a great experience at her farmhouse kitchen, but you're also enjoying learning about traditional potato bread and soda farls, and now the extension of the gin shows how that can develop and evolve. So absolutely, we would be really open and welcome to hearing more innovations in that area. Certainly a growing part of our tourism experiences portfolio out there.
Brilliant, thanks, Emer. And then Paul, there's one that might be relevant for yourself to answer. So it's for businesses developing new or innovative ideas. What steps can they take to protect their concept? For example, maybe around intellectual property or copyright?
Good question. We've got an hour. No.
Yeah.
Probably the three main things are obviously trademarking, copyright, and patents. In the tourism context, probably trademarking and copyright would probably be right up there in terms of trademarking. You'd be trademarking your brand or your name or the name of the experience, and copywriting would be probably looking at things like videos and brochures and things like that. And they're relatively easy to do and cheap to do. The patent side of it is it can and it may or may not be relevant depending on whether you're bringing forward a product or whatever it is. But it's a bit of a minefield. The patent. I'll give you a real example. It's probably the easiest way to do this, or two examples. I met with a business there last week, young chap, startup, bringing out a new drink, ironically. Very exciting, something I'd never seen before. And the first thing he had said to me was, "I want to patent this." And I said, "Patent what?" And he said, "I want to patent the process." And I said, "What is the process?" And he explained the process to me. And I said, "How much are you going to spend on this?" And he says, "Well, I've got £8,000 and I want to get a lawyer on board to do this." So that might get him a UK patent, but it certainly won't get him an international patent. The other thing that he didn't realise was that patenting a process is very difficult to do because it's a process. If somebody comes in and takes that process and makes some minor changes to it, your patent is worthless. He didn't realise this. So the other thing that you need to understand with the patent is once you file a patent, you're actually telling the world because you're actually putting it on paper what your idea is. So others can come in and take it and copy it. And I'll give you an example of where that went badly wrong. It was a Belfast company, it was remain nameless. They developed a piece of software, a software product, and they went and filed a patent. Within 6 months, so this is a true story, within 6 months, Google had developed a similar thing. And the company in Belfast actually went and took legal proceedings against Google. Now, you can guess who won that battle. Google just prolonged the fight, legal fight, until the company in Belfast literally ran out of money and ended up closing down. They spent their entire investment fighting Google, and Google went on. So you need to be very careful if you're making a decision around patent. That sometimes it's not the right thing to do to go and file a patent. I'll give advice on it and leave the decision to the individual, but to file a patent or not a file patent isn't always, it's a difficult decision. But from a tourist perspective, certainly trademarking and copyright would be the two things I would look at.
Brilliant. All right. Thank you very much, Paul. And I'm cautious of our time here. We're a few minutes over, but maybe just one question to Tracy. I suppose on the idea that you'd mentioned, your non-alcoholic botanical drink that you're starting, just I suppose, when did you think that idea would start to come to life, or was there a particular point where you thought it's time to reach out to Paul, just for people in, timelines? At what point did you think that was the right time?
Really, to be honest, at the very, very start, before I'm very conscious because it's just myself and my husband that run this business, that I don't have time to go down the road and kind of do a bit of research and whatever. Literally at the start, when the big innovation grant came out, I gave Paul a shout at that very, very, very early stage, and I'm really glad I did.
Okay, brilliant. So quick off the mark then.
Yep, you have to be.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Well, thanks everybody for all the questions. I hope you found the session useful. So don't forget, as Emer said, there's a full suite of courses on My Tourism NI e-learning platform, which will help you along your innovation journey. And a big thank you to Emer, Paul and Tracy for sharing their time, their insights and practical tips. And of course, thanks everybody for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure. Hopefully we'll see you again at more Tourism NI webinars events, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks very much.